move forward, we all understand, the council and the community, that our building and safety codes are not just about the people who live in any given, live on any given property. The building and safety codes are about the people who live on both sides of that person, and the people who live on the street behind them, and the people who live on the street and in our community. And it's not, they're for the benefit of everyone. And sometimes the good of the entire community becomes more important than the good of any single individual. And I think one of the problems we have in this community, and it's no reflection on the people who are in the audience tonight or our staff or this particular council, but I think one of the problems we've had for many years is that we haven't focused enough energy on code enforcement. And code enforcement sometimes has to be proactive. It can't just be waiting for the person next door to complain or the person who drives by and sees something and calls to our staff. I think if we want to change the kind of community we have, if we want to have a higher quality housing stock, we're going to have to accept the fact that sometimes code enforcement means code enforcement. And it's not always pleasant, and it doesn't always make people happy, and sometimes people get hurt in the process. But you know, we've been lax on our code enforcement for years. It's just not that difficult to drive through a neighborhood and see where someone is doing a major project, and maybe they don't have a building permit. And maybe someone should drive by and walk up to the door and say, do you have a building permit? We don't do enough of that in this community because we're afraid, I believe, of offending people, where we have a culture of, okay, we'll wait till there's a complaint. And that's not what this is all about. That's not what code enforcement is about. And if we want to make our, as I say, if we want to change the kind of community we have, we're going to have to start thinking about that in a little different light. And I realize we have an old community, we have a lot of old housing stock, and that's an issue. I'm not saying that, but there's a lot of, from my experience as a police officer, I know that there are a lot of absentee landlords who have converted garages and bedrooms and tool sheds into housing stock. And when no one's out there looking, believe me, it's pretty lucrative for some people to overlook the rules. And the people who live in those places don't call. The people who live next door don't call because everyone's afraid, and they're afraid they're not going to get the support they need when the authority figure shows up. But I think it's a real issue for us, and I think we've got an opportunity here to maybe get a few more units legalized by extending this a year. And I commend Councilmember Andrews for bringing this forward, and I appreciate all of your comments. And your passion for this issue, those of you who have been following this, but I really think we need to reconsider and reevaluate how we ensure compliance. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Andrews.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.